Hello and welcome to Control Alt WoW AprilPvd. Today is Wednesday, August 5th, 2026, and this is episode 874 entitled No Man's Sky. I'm AprilPvd, and this podcast is about me doing VR and being single, sober, and living small. VR helps me to live small. Now, I have been focusing on the latest game that I play because that's a big part of my VR experience and a big part of me being retired. This was a really good week for me. I went to a retirement party and got to see some of my coworkers, and it was really great. It's nice to have another person join us. I love going up to them going, one of us, one of us. I don't know if he got the reference, but it was fun for me. So this week I did a lot of neat things in Pal World. That's my main focus now. It's such a beautiful game. I learned a lot more about dedicated servers and about fighting techniques and building up my base. So I hope you enjoy my experience. I try to share what I've been doing every day through the week, and it's just been a lot of fun. So join me for my week in Pal World, and I hope you love what I'm talking about. You can write me at controlaltwow@gmail.com and let me know if you want to join me on our dedicated server. So Tuesday, after I put out last week's episode, I realized that I had not done the right UEVR injector. I'd gone into the flat screen VR Discord channel for Pal World, and I realized that even though I had downloaded the latest UEVR file, it's kind of weird when you download it. You download a zip file and you don't unzip it. You just tell the UEVR injector where it is. And what I didn't realize was what it automatically does is it puts all the files necessary in a separate directory automatically, and then it uses that file. But when I downloaded the new one and I pointed it to that zipped file, wasn't changing the name, so it didn't reassociate the files. And so all along I had been using the third person one and wondering why people on the forums were saying, on the Discord forums were saying that it was first person. Okay, so I had to take out the old file and reassociate it. What I should have done was rename it, which is what some people do, and that would make it so that they would know that the new file was different. But once I figured it out and I went into first person, maybe if I had started out in Pal World in first person, it would have been okay. But I had gotten so used to the controls for the third person that my muscle memory was off so much. The only good thing about the first person version is that it's very good for shooting. I could shoot very clearly. I'm always having a problem in third person because I have to position myself in the proper place and make sure the angle is right. And it's always, my angle is always off, so I end up wasting a bunch of arrows. But the other controls, well, I won't say they didn't work well. They just were different. So my muscle memory was different. So instead of wasting arrows, I ended up wasting a lot of the PAL spheres because I kept hitting the wrong button. So I actually went back to the third person setup. I may just switch between the two and using first person when I need to hunt or fight and use the third person for the rest of the time. But I just want to give a big shout out to the people in the forums and the people who are designing these files, because it is just great to be in VR in this game. One of the things I like the most about video games is that it gets you thinking, especially if it's a good design. I love it when you have to figure out things instead of just looking stuff up and going through the routines that everybody else does. Of course, some of the hints and the YouTube videos are good, but I like to figure out a lot of things myself. And just running around and getting materials together to make something is a lot of fun for me. And that's what I did Wednesday. I wanted to try the epic sword because I was having problems with the crossbow and shooting and aiming. And I thought the sword would be better because I am able to hit with the club, and the epic sword has a lot more damage involved. So I wanted to make one of those and the epic crossbow because I had patterns for both that I had picked up. There are these places you stumble upon in the game, and they're really interesting. They have like a force field in front of them, and once you open it, there's something you have to do to access whatever is inside. The first one I came across, I had to fight a pal that was outside. Two of them, I had to solve a kind of puzzle to get a circuit connected without crossing over one another line. They're all very challenging, but not too hard. And once you figure it out, the force field drops, and you go inside, and there's some sort of blueprint. I got a blueprint for a necklace that will give me some defense and health, but it requires some components that I don't have enough of yet. I got the blueprint for the epic crossbow and the epic sword the same way. For a while, I spent time trying to work on building my second base. I'm also trying to get enough materials for the two weapons. Like I mentioned, I also wanted to try to use the first person UEVR injector mod to shoot because that worked out so well yesterday. Well, I wasn't successful in figuring out how to go back to that mod now that I'm in third person again. But I didn't want to waste time trying to figure it out, so I just went with the third person mod, which I'm very comfortable with. And I kind of like seeing my character, but I'm still fully immersed in the game. So there's still the VR feel because I can look around and see everywhere. And I really like that part. So while I'm running back and forth between my two bases and trying to get all the materials I need, because I needed ingots to make both of those. So I had to get ore to make the ingots. The ingots were I needed like 52 for the sword, which is a lot. At the same time, I realized that while I'm in the game, whether I'm at the base or not, I still need to pay attention to both bases. I watched one YouTube video that talked about combining your bases so that they're side by side. So you have the advantage of more room, but you can see both bases. But I'll have to figure that out. I may end up doing that. I may end up getting rid of my first base and bringing everything over to the second base. I have plenty of room where I am now to be able to do that. But when I went back to my original base, I found out that some of my pals were starving because their food basket was empty. So I still have to pay attention to both bases when I'm in the game. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I kind of thought when I'm at one base, that's the only base that is doing stuff. But I guess the beauty of the game is that you can have the pals at the first base doing things that you need and then go back to the other base to do other things. In fact, while I was watching some of the YouTube videos, some people actually have a base for a specific resource that they may move depending on what they need at their particular level. But I had so much fun. And while I'm running around trying to find more pals because I want to keep capturing pals because that's one of the ways you level up. And I need to get to the next technology slot that I need to get to the 22nd level 20 the 22nd slot. I went from 20 to 21 today, and I need to get to that 22nd level to get to the PAL expedition thingy. So I was still trying to, and I need to get more technology stuff. So keep in mind, I'm still in third person, and I'm riding my big purple deer. Uh, and I found out that I can shoot while I'm riding her. And I also found out that I was doing the shooting wrong, and that's why I was having so much trouble. I needed to first set up the shooting by squeezing the trigger on my left hand and then aiming with my right hand controller. And that way I get that crossbow, not crossbow, what do you call it? Uh, the thing where you can aim. I think it's called a reticle, but it's a sight, and that way I was able to actually shoot. And now I don't need first person at all, so I'm not even going to go back and try to fix that because my muscle memory is too uh, fixed on the third person one. I managed to get enough of the materials to make both the sword and the crossbow, but here's the crazy part. They were taking so long, even with my pal doing some of the work. So I ended up bringing in another one of my characters to help me. One of the tips that I got out of the YouTube videos was to change the settings so you don't have to hold the button down to keep working at any of the workbenches. It works really well, but with the VR mode, I don't seem to be able to make that setting stick. It does work on the flat screen, so I was able to bring in I brought in April at one point, and she helped me make the crossbow. And then I brought in Aprillian. While I had April in the game with me, I was able to give her some stuff. One of the things she needed was a feed bag. These are actually slots that you can put food in, and as long as you put food in those slots in your character screen, your character will eat and feed the pals that you have with you. And then I brought Aprillian in, and I gave her, I think I gave her something that I had made. So it's nice to be able to share stuff with my pals, and that I was able to use them to make the building of the crossbow and the sword go much faster. The other thing that happened today was I had 2 raids on both of my bases, or rather one raid at each base, and I had 2 different outcomes. And I learned a lot about raids. The first thing that I had a raid at was at my original base, which already had all the walls up. And I've had raids there a couple of times, and it's safe. But this time I did go out and look at the raiders, and I thought about fighting them, but it was cool. It was okay. I was safe. The biggest thing is that I didn't pay the 1,000 gold to stop them from invading. Now, the second raid was at my second base, which at the time I didn't have any walls up. But the minute I did get the notice that they were coming, I started putting up the walls. I had to pop over to my other base and get some stone and come back to be able to make the walls. But I did it, and even though I didn't complete the walls, they were still helpful because they made the group come in at a certain place, and I was able to fight them off. I was a little bit concerned because Aprillian was on my base making the crossbow, I think, and I was worried that she might get attacked. and I would be, something would happen to her, or I would lose the progress I had made on making the crossbow. I mean, it took a really long time, but between her people that she had out, her pals that she had out, and my pals, and my newfound shooting techniques, I was able to repel them, and it wasn't even that big. What happened was I killed them all, and the raid was stopped. The interesting thing about the first one with the walls, where I just let them try to attack, they do two waves, so it lasts a little longer. And this time, just by fighting them off, it stopped. I didn't have to wait for the second wave, so that was kind of nice. And it's an interesting dynamic. Plus, when you kill those guys, you get something. They drop things, so it's really a fun dynamic. Another time, though, I went to an area. I was doing some exploring on AprilPvd just to get some more of the travel points, and just to look for more pals to capture. And she ended up in the middle of a fight with the syndicate, and turned out the syndicate was attacking a traveling merchant. And I started attacking what I thought was the syndicate, but I ended up hitting the merchant. And then the PFID guys came in, which is like the military on the island, and started shooting me, and they ended up killing me. But, I managed to get back to my body. I hope I don't get any negative points for that. But, I had a good day. I got a lot of things done. And I did try to take down the second boss, our tower that I have to do now, and it killed me. I just have to get better at figuring out what I'm doing, but I'm loving this game and I'm having a blast, and yeah, it's fun. I found out something new about my dedicated server. What I didn't realize was that it still runs even when I'm not logged in. I stopped playing around 3 o'clock, and then I went back around 7 o'clock last night, Wednesday night. And when I got back into the game, all of my pets were hungry, some were sick, some were depressed. It was sad, mainly because there was no food. Now, when I first logged back in, I went around trying to make food for them all, to try to feed them all, because my idea was, let me feed them. And it was crazy because I couldn't work fast enough. And I was at my original base, which I think had 10 pals. And so I'm dashing back and forth between the two cooking things. But then I realized they're so sad and depressed, they're not even cooking like they normally would be. And so I'm cooking and throwing stuff into their food things. But I mean, one of them had ulcers, and I felt so guilty. And at the same time, all I could think about was that what is going on at the other base as well. So what I ended up doing was putting them all back into the pal box, because when you're out fighting with your pals and one of them dies, if you put them back in the pal box, they will come back to life. So I thought maybe that's what I should do, because I just could not cook enough food fast enough. I mean, I was scrambling, and I felt so bad about it. Eventually, I did go back to the other base and try to do the same thing. And then I thought, okay, let me just pull out one of these guys. Let me just pull them out and see if I can heal them, because I know I have medicine. But I couldn't figure out a way to heal them, and I felt really guilty about how hurt these pals were. I mean, their names were in red. Whenever I put anything in the food chest, they came right over and ate. So I decided to log off and try to figure out, what to do. Well, I learned one thing. Don't leave the server running unless I'm playing. Prior to that, I would just log off every time. This is my first time leaving it running. And then I decided to just look up stuff and figure out what I needed to do to heal them. And I had the medicine because I have the PAL. There's a certain bench you can make that can make medicine. And I thought that I had to put them in my party to feed because sometimes that's what you have to do to teach them. But it turns out that I have to go over to them and choose feed and then select the medication. So I'm going to do that today, Thursday. Also thinking about setting up a dedicated server on my laptop just so I can go back and forth and see how that works out because this is so much fun. But that was very, very stressful to have those those pals look so hurt and have that redness all over my screen because they were hungry and depressed and sick. But I learned something, which is good. Thursday, of course, starts off with my workout. I really love working out in VR. It is such a good opportunity to be able to work out in VR in my own home. And the workout went very well. And one of the things that I do is I get on the elliptical with HoloFit, and it has a routine that makes me have to go find these things. And this particular one was like a uh Raiders of the Lost Ark thing, and I had to chase down and find the rock and get it off of Montana Jones. And it was a lot of fun, and it motivated me to try even harder. There are different things you have to go through, and the reward is an outfit that's like his. So I had a good time with that, and I'm really lucky to have this elliptical. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before that it is a Nordic Track Freestrider Trainer FS5i, and it's a gym quality elliptical. So even though I've had it for since 2017, it's in good shape because it's really designed for a whole bunch of people to use it at one time and or during a day. And so I watched a really good YouTube video on how to design your base, and now I have to try it. But that does mean I'm going to have to destroy my base, which I'm a little nervous about, but it's okay. I mean, it's just a game. I logged in on AprilPvd and I put all of her pals in the pal box, with the exception of the dire wolf. And then I logged in Aprillian because she had a quest that she had to show this guy in New Settlement, the dire wolf. But first, she took some other things, which is so crazy. I always get caught up with doing other things. She was at the beach base, and the PAL expedition thing was there, which is just this big, huge, like oasis thing, like a cave. So it's almost like you have a dungeon in your on your base. So she went over and pressed a button that said to auto populate, and so all her pals went in on the expedition, and they came back with some really cool stuff. So I'm gonna do that on AprilPvd when she logs in. It takes 30 minutes, so she can work on redesigning the bases while that happens. The guy showed me how to put a foundation under the PAL box, which is what I want. But in order to do that, I would have to destroy the PAL box, which I think would destroy the whole base. So I'm nervous about that. But the building part is one of the great things about this game. But when I actually logged in, I moved some stuff around. I tried to like extend the base of my base and just make it one complete platform so that it would be flat. You know, the problem is that I'm by the beach, and so the beach kind of goes downhill towards the water. So at first I was really trying very hard to make it all one platform, but that didn't work. And so I was like moving things around. There was some issues with trying to get it to go as far as I wanted to the edge. It's kind of hard to explain, but they just became some building issues. And also at the same time, some of my pals got stuck because they couldn't get up the platform. So I had to work on figuring out how to do the stairs properly. And then I had this big idea of taking out the middle part and then trying to rework it. It turned out that taking out the middle part just made everything perfect. So now there's a beach in between my bases where the pals live and where I'm making my home, my little castle, and it worked out really nice. I have a lot more work to do, but I did a lot of destroying and running around, and it took like 2 hours to get this whole thing figured out. And the craziest part was that when I sometimes when I was destroying stuff to recreate, I would get bogged down because I would be everything that you destroy goes into your inventory. So I had to then build a chest just to put stuff in, and but it turned out good. I love my new layout. I love making things. I even made a bathroom in my new castle part. So I have a part where the pals are living. I have a part where they're working and where the fields are. And then I have a whole different section where I'm going to be making my little building home type place. So I'm having so much fun. Putting up columns. I'm making a whole section where I'm going to have my bed and my living quarters. And this game is everything I've wanted. I've taken some time away from leveling, but it's really motivating me to level because in order to get certain things that I want to get, I have to push myself to level as well. I also started using the skill training machine. There's so many intricacies. And then the expedition ends, and I open up the little box thing that, or the expedition window, and I get a whole bunch of stuff that I needed to upgrade other stuff that I didn't know where to get them from. So it was perfect. And I love the building stuff in this game. It's really cool. When I logged in Friday, I was pleasantly pleased at all the hard work I had done, and I'm very happy with the layout. I did have some pathing problems with some of my pals, so I ended up making some more steps to enable them to get up to the higher level of the platform that I created. And that worked out really well. I'm so pleased that I learned that technique of how to make a step, how to make the steps go lower, because sometimes it doesn't look like the steps are high enough. But I'm really loving the new layout that I made for my base. Now the only problem is now I have to get back to my other base and totally destroy that one. The only thing that's stopping me is that I still have some mats there. So I have to figure out, just get myself going and get to the point where I will take everything out of that base and just, put it in my inventory. Then I have to teleport back to this base and then put it back where it needs to go and go back and do the same thing. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a few pieces of equipment that I made there that I have not made in my newer base. So that's going to take some working out, and I think I can do it. And because once I do that, then I can create a second base next to my base now and totally expand what I can do. And of course, I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg of all the things that are possible to do in PAL world. Then I got a crazy idea. What if I started a server on my laptop? I've been doing most of my VR playing on the gaming PC, which is a very high end, or it was when I got it a couple of years ago or last year. And the reason I got the gaming PC was for No Man's Sky, which is very demanding. But PAL World is not as demanding. And I said, let me try it on the laptop and see if I could have another dedicated server that I could try different things on it. And I did it. I went through the steps and I made a server on my laptop. The only thing is I do have to go back and forth to change the settings as I get in and out of using the VR on the gaming PC. I guess I could use VR on the laptop. I haven't tried that lately. There's some issue sometimes with the resolution, and it can be kind of dragging because I'm also recording and streaming on the laptop. But I got it to work and I started a whole new dedicated server, a whole new world. And so I now have another server with another group of characters. And that was really a lot of fun. And the best part is that I started my first base just the way I want it, totally flat, and it's coming out perfectly. This time I started out with Aprillian as the main character and leveled her up until she could get to the point where she could put down a PAL box. And I used the technique of making a platform and then putting it on. I just didn't think you could make a platform without having down a PAL box, but I'm so glad that this video showed me that. It will give you a warning that you're not inside your base, but it was possible and it came out perfectly and I'm loving it. One of the main reasons I wanted to do this was in case I get some of my people who are following me on the podcast or who are recording with my other podcasts who wanted to join me on the game. And that way we would have a better start. Plus, I wanted a fresh start. I don't know how often I'll be playing this one as opposed to my main one, but it was kind of neat to know that I could have a second dedicated server. Don't know if I could switch back and forth. I don't know if I could actually have started a second one on my regular gaming PC, but I'll look into it. But I had a good time setting up, and it's the same thing that when I did World of Warcraft. Once you start over, you have a little bit of a foresight of the things that you could do, and you could do it better. And it came out really nice. So I spent Friday afternoon working on that. I love this game. Have I said that before? So Saturday, of course, I worked out and it was great. I did some parts of the August challenge on the elliptical for a hollow fit, but then I got busy doing other things like cleaning the carpet and giving my dog a bath. And then I had to go to a retirement party for a coworker. So no pal world for me on Saturday, and that was very hard for me. But then Sunday, I got right into it, and I love the way my base is looking. I did make some changes because I found out that some of my characters couldn't get up to where I had placed the platform. But now that I know how to put the stairs in at an angle, I was able to do that. Of course, the first thing I did when I went in was make sure everybody had food. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, and I have to do some research on it. But on this base, they are not taking the cooked food and putting it in the basket where they eat. So I needed to figure out why they're not doing that, because I seem to have to go to the fireplace, grab the food. Right now, I'm feeding them bread. I'm keeping the baked berries in the second slot, and then putting the bread in the first slot. And the reason for the difference is there there's abundance of berries because I have the berries field, so that's always there. But the bread has more of the sanity thing. That's the SAN, and that's the thing that makes them able to not get depressed and to function better. And so it's better to have something like that. Now, from what I'm being told is that I did have to move some stuff around. I had to destroy a chest and the feed box because I couldn't put the stairs where I wanted it to be because of the feed box being in the way. But it's okay. I've gotten used to that. I used to be very nervous about taking things apart and putting them back, but now I'm getting really comfortable with it, especially since people will, or the other pals will just join in and help build stuff. As I mentioned before, there are multiple levels to this game. There is the leveling part, which is, the basic thing you have in an MMORPG, and that's getting my character up to level. But there's also leveling the pets or the pals, and there's leveling your base, and they are interlocked in a way because some of the ways to level the base is by creating new workstations or these starting stuff. Like I have to my next level to get to, I will need to make a generator and a power spear making assembly line. But in order to open up those blueprints, I have to be at a higher level. So it's just an interesting combination of trying to figure out where I want to go and how fast I want to go. And then, of course, there's the other thing for me as a person who likes being in VR, and that's the house building aspect of the game. Friday, when I was on with Aprillian, I had done a little bit of extra building. I worked on the columns. But one of the things I wanted to do was move my bathroom, which I had made on the first floor of my house, but I wanted to put it upstairs where my next to my bedroom. And so the problem was though AprilPvd had the plans for the bathroom and the washstand and the sink. And it's so silly because you can't use it. It's just purely for decoration. But I really got into working on that and I finished that up. It's amazing because I have 10 pals on my base. Once I put the objects down, they immediately come in and start working on it. So then I actually left my I no, first I went to the expedition portal and I sent a bunch of my pals into the expedition, which takes a half an hour. And when they're done, I get a whole bunch of things that help me build stuff. So once that was done, then I went out to work on leveling myself up. And one of the ways you can do that is by capturing other pets. There's a guy in one of the new settlements that will give you XP and stuff for leveling up the number of pets that you have. So at the time, AprilPvd had 45 pets, and she went to talk to him. And when she would get to 50 pets, he would also give her a special book that could teach electrification to increase the skills of one of her pets. Uh, so I went to do that, and then I decided to go. And while I was doing that, I also went out to get some more pets, and I ended up in a fight with a. There's these things that these bounty hunters want you to capture. They're just guys standing by the road, and I don't know why, but I kind of like capturing the guys. And so I throw balls at them, and I captured this one guy who was epic. His name is Laszlo, and I got a special bonus for capturing him. And then I also got to have him in my party, and he fights really well. And the people that I capture also work really hard on my base. So it really helps me out right now. Probably when I figure out how to level up my pals and get them to do the things I want them to do, I probably won't be so into having these guys. To be honest, I am skipping over a lot of the things that I'm doing in this game because there is so much to it. And if I was to do a point by point, this podcast would be so long. I have been discovering so many things about the game. And one of the things I discovered was that there are dungeons. I did not know there were dungeons. I know there were towers, but there are these caves, and I went to go into this cave and it said, "Do you want to join the dungeon?" Now, at first I got kind of nervous and I'm like, I don't really want to go into a dungeon. But then I said, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go in, maybe I'll die. But I went into this one dungeon, and the mobs that were in there were level 1 mobs. The best thing was there was lots of things to gather. There's this cavern mushroom that I know I need to make some stuff. And there were chests, and there was so much stuff in this dungeon that I kicked myself because I went in with almost a full inventory. So as I ran around and discovered things, I decided that, oh, I'll have to come back to this dungeon once I empty out my inventory because there's no way I can pass up all of this stuff. I actually spent some time trying to go through my inventory and dump stuff. And some of the things I tried to get rid of was there were these things I had that I could teach my pets or my pals different things, like how to do stuff better and also to like me better. So I actually ended up giving a lot of that stuff to Laszlo. So I picked up as much as I could. I mean, there was just so much stuff, and especially money. I needed money because I was going back to the vendor in the new settlement to buy. I bought some bone because I needed bone to make this ring that would give me a certain advantage. And so I'm running around, and then I just decided I'm heading back. I'm going to go back to my base, get rid of all the stuff I have, and then I'm gonna come back to this dungeon and just do some more stuff. But of course, best laid plans. I left the dungeon, went back to my base, and I ended up just running around building stuff. And one of the things you can do is increase the abilities of your pals on your base with different with the pal trainer. There's just so much. And I just spent the rest of the afternoon on my base. I never got back to that dungeon. I'm hopefully going to get back to it later, but I'm definitely going to get back to it. But I just went back and worked on my base. I got the stuff from the expedition, and there was I had a blast. I'm just setting up so many new things. I made more storage containers. I brought over the egg hatcher because I saw another video on YouTube about how you can hatch your pets. After spending some time upgrading my base, I put in a ore manufacturing place so that I could get ore because I need ingots to make a lot of things. I went back out to find some more pets. I'm getting really good at hunting pets. I did try some fishing for a little bit, but I'm not really good at fishing. I was just having fun chasing down pets, but I found a dragon egg and I'm excited to see what hatches out of that. If you've been watching my videos or looking at the screenshots in the show notes, you may have noticed a difference in my head strap. The Quest 3 is a remarkable device and it has the option of upgrading it from the built-in head strap that it comes with. This means you can personalize the head strap to your particular need, and there is a plethora of head straps out there. Now, I have gone through so many different ones. 2 years ago, I purchased the Bobo VR M3 Pro, and I talked about the fact that realized it was pressing into my skull, creating little dents. So I eventually changed to another brand that had the halo without what they call the antennas, but it didn't have the option of buying extra batteries. So then I bought the Bobo VR S3 Pro, which has a fan, but that was a little bit too heavy for me. So I basically downgraded to the Bobo VR E3 Pro, which I actually liked, and I actually bought 2 additional backup batteries for a total of 3. But then, right after I bought that, Bobo VR came out with a strap called Bobo VR M3 Pro Plus, which had the ability to customize the way it sits on your head. You have 2 wheels of control, and it gave a tighter fit, which was very important for me be- with when I do my exercising, because if it comes loose, it affects my performance. Now, if you're watching the video or if you look in the show notes, which you can find at controlaltwow.com, which forwards from controlaltwow.blogspot.com, you'll notice that on the left, I am wearing the new one, the Bobo VR M3 Pro Plus, and on the right, I'm wearing the older model, which was the Bobo VR E3 Pro, which has the strap up the middle, which makes me look like I have a mohawk. But anyways, I really like the new one. I ended up buying a second backup battery because it's lighter. The battery only lasts an hour, so if I ordered a second battery, and I know this might seem to some to be a lot of waste, but it's important to have a really good fit for your headset, and something that I wear anywhere from 2 to 6 hours at a time. It's important that it fits well. So I'm happy with this new Bobo VR headset. I just don't know what I'm going to do with all the others. Of course, since it was Monday, I did do my workout, and the headset slash strap, I keep calling it a headset, but it's a head strap, did great with the boxing, with the all the movements. The best part is when I'm down on the floor doing my sit-ups, I don't have to worry about it coming loose like I did with the other head straps. So that was really great. The whole time I'm working out, and then, I take my shower and I have breakfast and I check around the apartment to make sure everything's nice and neat. My whole mind is totally on playing Pal World. So finally I got to play and it was great. I actually logged in with Aprillian because I wanted to have her get some levels. And the best part about the everybody being in the same guild is that everyone has access to the base that AprilPvd has upgraded. Now, the main thing I wanted to do with Aprillian was to get her into that dungeon that AprilPvd had ran. The mobs in there were low level and she could get some stuff. Plus, it was fun running that dungeon. So, Aprillian went in the dungeon after she made sure that all of the pals at the base were taken care of. And she discovered some things about the interface for some of the cooking and I think the flour things was that I hadn't checked the boxes that said allow the pals to carry. So there's a special box that you can do that. But then she went into the dungeon, and it was not the same dungeon that AprilPvd had gone in. It was a little bit different. But while she was in there, she was able to get some pets, and she got a bunch of supplies, including some ore. And that's the biggest thing. Everything that I need to make needs ingots. So she was able to do that. And she got some levels. And then she went back to the base and helped upgrade some things. She had the blueprint for the wall scones that AprilPvd doesn't have. And she put in a desk. And yeah, she just did some stuff. Oh, and while she was in the dungeon, she got a blueprint for a rare crossbow that was an upgrade to the one that she had. And the one that she had gotten from AprilPvd because AprilPvd had the schematics for it. So the way I'm doing it is I'm not using all of my technology points for each character. In fact, Aprillian has about 62 technology points that she's going to use when she gets a little bit higher. And she also got a book that gave her some technology points, but she put it in the uh, chest so that AprilPvd could use it because she's run out of technology points. But when she went to manufacture the crossbow, she had enough materials to make two. So I brought in April, and she actually did the work. And I also gave her a potion that Aprillian had found that would increase her work speed because I have been bringing in April to do work on the base. Because on the flat screen, I can just press one key and that tune will just keep working. So it's just a convenient way to get something done faster. On Tuesday, I decided to try the second tower boss again, Lily and Lylene. They had killed me multiple times, and I had upgraded my gear. I got a metal armor suit that protects you from heat. And I also had upgraded some of my pals and infused them with some extra energy from the pal souls, that statue that you use. And so I felt like I was better prepared and that I could actually take them out. I had done a couple of other dungeons, a level 15 one. Now, AprilPvd was level 27 at this time. And I did it. I beat the boss. And now I'm excited because I can go into the expedition and do the second level of sending my pals into expeditions. There's so much to this game, and I'm loving Pal World so much. That's going to be it for this week. I will have a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about next week, including setting up a dedicated server for the podcast. This is AprilPvd. You can email me at controlaltwow@gmail.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at controlaltwow. And if you check the show notes at controlaltwow.com, which forwards from controlaltwow.blogspot.com, you'll find all the images from the video that's also on YouTube. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and have fun in VR. I got her.